The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, "The assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false." The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said, "That is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed." But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this: "Top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel." The next day, the New York Times said this: "Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail." So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Neither, sir, and I appreciate the question.
Well, what were you doing? Because those statements don't jive.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests—
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology, or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what did you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources based on—
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What did they ask for and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times—
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that risk.
But that's not what he said. He said they were denied certain requests, some requests. This is your spokesperson, not me talking. This is the Secret Service talking. And what a change from absolutely false, unequivocally false to, oh, by the way, there were some times where we didn't give them what they wanted. That's a huge change in 5 days. And the fact that you can't answer how many times you did that, that's pretty darn frustrating, not just for me, but for the country.
I hear your frustration.
Let me ask you this. Were any of those requests denied to President Trump's detail after you knew about the Iranian threat?
Did the Secret Service mislead the American people about security requests made for former President Donald Trump before the attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania? That question fueled one of the most intense exchanges in a House Judiciary Committee hearing as Representative Jim Jordan challenged the acting Secret Service director over what he described as contradictory statements from the agency. In the days after the shooting, Secret Service officials publicly insisted that no requests for additional security had been denied. But just days later, media reports revealed that Trump's security team had, in fact, requested additional personnel and federal assets on multiple occasions before the rally. Jordan wanted one answer. Which version of the story is true? Jordan began by reading two official statements released immediately after the assassination attempt. A Secret Service spokesman said claims that Trump's security team had requested more protection and been denied were absolutely false. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas also called those reports unequivocally false. But Jordan then pointed to reporting published just days later. According to both the Washington Post and the New York Times, senior Secret Service officials had rejected multiple requests from Trump's protective detail for additional security resources before the Butler rally. Jordan argued those reports directly contradicted the agency's earlier denials. He looked at the director and asked the question that immediately grabbed national attention. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail? The director rejected both accusations, insisting that no requests tied specifically to the Butler event had been denied. But Jordan wasn't satisfied that he argued that the agency had completely changed its story in less than a week. Jordan then zeroed in on one issue. Exactly how many times had Trump's protective detail requested additional security before the assassination attempt? And how many of those requests had been rejected? Instead of providing a number, the director explained that the Secret Service often addresses security concerns by reallocating personnel, using technology, or relying on local law enforcement rather than approving every requested asset. Jordan immediately pushed back that he reminded the director that the Secret Service's own spokesperson had acknowledged multiple requests had been turned down. Jordan repeatedly asked the same question. How many times did you tell them no? The director never gave a direct answer, saying he could not discuss specific requests without reviewing additional information. For Jordan, that response only deepened concerns about transparency. If you're enjoying our coverage of the biggest moments from Capitol Hill, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another major hearing. Now back to the hearing.
What I can tell you, again, I don't know the specifics, is that there are times when we can fill a request. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a Secret Service asset or resource. We can fill that request with locally available assets.
You spoke to anyone at the White House since July 13th?
Yes, I have.
Who'd you talk to?
I have briefed the president and the vice president.
Talked to the First Lady?
No, I have not.
Talked to the White House staff? Anyone in the White House communications?
No, I have not.
Have you talked to the counter sniper who took the shot that took out the bad guy?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell us about that conversation?
I would not want to reveal conversations that I've had with my employees.
But that's exactly the kind of information the American people want to know. American people who pay your salary.
I understand. This is an ongoing investigation, and
Who's all doing the investigating at Secret Service? I know the Inspector General, but is there also an internal investigation in addition to the Inspector General?
We are conducting a mission assurance investigation internally, yes.
You know what it looks like, Director? It looks like you won't answer some pretty basic questions. It looks like you got a 9% raise and you cut corners when it came to protecting one of the most important individuals, most well-known individuals on the planet. A former president, likely the guy who's going to be the next president. It looks like you guys were cutting corners. That's what it looks like to me. Is that true?
I am here today because I want to answer questions, but I also want to be cautious.
You might want to, but you haven't answered. I don't think you've answered one question from the chairman, the ranking member, or me. Well, we got a lot of other people asking. We'll see if your record improves, but right now you haven't answered, I don't think, any questions. I yield back.
Jordan then raised another critical issue that he asked whether additional security requests had continued to be denied even after the Secret Service became aware of an alleged Iranian threat against former President Trump. Again, the director declined to discuss specifics. Jordan then shifted to the agency's response after the shooting that he asked whether the director had spoken with President Biden, Vice President Harris, White House officials, and the Secret Service counter-sniper who fatally shot the gunman. The director confirmed he had briefed the president and spoken with the sniper but refused to discuss those conversations, citing the ongoing investigation. Jordan argued that the American people deserved answers, not more uncertainty, that he accused the agency of refusing to answer even the most basic questions about what happened before one of the most serious security failures in Secret Service history. That as his time expired, Jordan delivered his sharpest criticism that he said the agency's changing explanations, lack of transparency, and refusal to provide straightforward answers had severely damaged public confidence. The hearing underscored the growing scrutiny facing the Secret Service following the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Representative Jim Jordan argued that the agency's public statements changed dramatically after the shooting and questioned why repeated requests for additional security were allegedly denied before the Butler rally. The Secret Service director defended the agency's overall approach to protecting high-profile officials but declined to answer several specific questions, saying the matter remains under investigation. Whether those explanations satisfy Congress remains to be seen. What do you think? Did Representative Jim Jordan expose major inconsistencies in the Secret Service's testimony, or was the director justified in withholding details while the investigation continues? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more of the biggest moments from Capitol Hill.